For almost 50 years, Star Wars has been circling one family. The Skywalkers, Anakin, Luke, Leia, Ben. Every era of the saga keeps dragging us back to the same bloodline as if the galaxy only belongs to them. But in a universe with trillions of beings and countless worlds, isn't it strange that everything always comes back to one family tree? The original trilogy made sense. Luke was the hero, Vader was the villain, Leia was the heart. That family drama gave the saga weight. But decades later, Star Wars still refuses to move on. The prequels turned galactic collapse into Anakin's personal meltdown. The sequels turned Rey's story into another legacy arc. Even the spin-offs keep sneaking them in like Easter eggs we never asked for. And the result is a galaxy that feels smaller, not bigger. Instead of exploring cultures, politics, or alien civilizations, the story keeps shrinking into one family reunion. It's less Star Wars and more Skywalker Wars. And no matter how much nostalgia they squeeze out of it, eventually the well runs dry. The irony is that the best recent Star Wars stories thrive because they break free. Rogue One, Andor. The Clone Wars episodes about clones themselves. These show us that the galaxy can shine without Skywalkers at the centre. In fact, the further we get from them, the fresher the stories feel. So why does Lucasfilm keep circling back? The answer is simple. Safety. Familiar names sell tickets. Legacy characters guarantee headlines. But that safety comes at the cost of creativity. And fans are starting to notice. Nostalgia isn't infinite. In this video, we are going to break down why the Skywalker focus has overstayed its welcome. What amazing stories get ignored because of it, and why Star Wars desperately needs to move on before the galaxy shrinks into nothing but one family tree. Family. The Skywalkers have dominated Star Wars for nearly 50 years. From the very beginning in 1977 to the sequels decades later, everything has been about this one family tree. The original trilogy gave us Luke's rise and redemption. The prequels gave us Anakin's fall. The sequels gave us Ben Solo's angst. Even spin-offs and TV series find ways to circle back to the same bloodline. This obsession has turned Star Wars into less of a galaxy and more of a family drama with lightsabers. It makes sense in the beginning. George Lucas built the original trilogy as a modern myth. Luke was the archetypal farm boy turned hero. Vader was the fallen father. Leia was the princess turned general. That family dynamic gave Star Wars its emotional backbone. But the problem is the saga never let go of it. Every major storyline kept dragging us back to Skywalkers, even when the galaxy had moved on. Look at the prequels. Entire wars are being fought across the galaxy, yet everything still hinges on Anakin Skywalker. His love story with Padme, his jealousy, his attachment, his betrayal. The Jedi Council, thousands of years old, somehow all collapse because of one guy's personal problems. It works as a tragedy, but it also narrows the lens. The Republic didn't fall because of systemic rot. It fell because Anakin had a bad day. That shrinks a galactic story into a soap opera. The sequels doubled down even harder. The Force Awakens set up Rey as a new kind of hero, a scavenger, with no clear ties to the past. But by the time the rise of Skywalker rolled around, her entire identity was hijacked into another legacy bloodline battle. Kylo Ren's descent had to mirror Anakin's. Luke had to show up as a disillusioned mentor. Palpatine had to return just to connect the dots back to the same old families. Instead of opening the galaxy, the sequels boxed it right back into a Skywalker-shaped corner. And that obsession is everywhere. Rogue One was supposed to be a standalone war story, yet it ends with Leia. Obi-Wan Kenobi tried to tell a story about trauma, but shoehorned in Leia as a child. Even The Mandalorian, a show about a bounty hunter, and a foundling somehow had to feature Luke Skywalker saving the day. You can't escape them. It's like the Skywalkers have a galactic monopoly on storytelling. The irony is that some of the best moments in modern Star Wars happen when it isn't about them. Rogue One thrives because it's about nameless soldiers sacrificing for hope. Andor captivates because it's about politics, espionage, and ordinary people resisting tyranny. The Clone Wars TV series shines brightest when it focuses on clones themselves rather than Anakin. These stories prove the galaxy doesn't need the Skywalkers to be compelling. But Lucasfilm can't let go. They keep circling back because the Skywalkers are safe. Studios know audiences recognise the names. Luke, Leia, Anakin. They guarantee nostalgia dollars. But that safety comes at the cost of creativity. Instead of venturing into bold territory, Star Wars ends up recycling the same arcs over and over again. Farm boy becomes hero. Father becomes villain. Son becomes redeemer. Rinse and repeat. And fans notice. The more the saga clings to the Skywalkers, the smaller the galaxy feels. Instead of being an expansive universe with infinite cultures and conflicts, it becomes a family squabble dragged across centuries. Imagine if every Marvel film circled back to Iron Man's descendants. That's what Star Wars has become. A galaxy reduced to one dysfunctional bloodline. One of the biggest problems with circling around the Skywalkers is that it sidelines incredible opportunities for other stories. The galaxy far, far away is massive. Thousands of planets, countless species, centuries of history. Yet we keep returning to the same family drama. By focusing everything through one bloodline, Lucasfilm has ignored entire corners of the galaxy that could have expanded Star Wars into something truly vast. Take the Jedi Order, for example. For every Anakin or Luke, there are thousands of Jedi we never learn about. The High Republic Publishing Initiative showed how exciting it can be to focus on Jedi centuries before the Skywalkers. Different philosophies, different crises, different heroes. None of them tied to Tatooine or Palpatine's manipulations. But on screen we rarely get this. The films always drag us back to the family, as if no other Jedi matter. The same goes for villains. Why does every threat need to connect to the Skywalker saga? Darth Maul had potential as a separate figure, but even he was roped into being part of Sidious's larger scheme with Anakin. Snoke could have been fascinating as a new dark figure, but instead he was turned into a Palpatine puppet just to keep the bloodline relevant. It's like the galaxy can't produce new villains unless they're somehow connected to Skywalker family drama. Think about the worlds we barely touch. Mon Cala with its aquatic politics, Mandalore with its warrior traditions, the criminal underworld of the Hutts and syndicates. All of these could sustain entire franchises, yet they keep getting sidelined. Why? Because none of them are Skywalkers. Star Wars chooses to shrink itself down rather than expand into the richness it already has. Even the Force itself suffers under this obsession. Instead of being presented as a universal energy that flows through all living things, it often feels like a family heirloom passed down through Skywalkers. Luke is special. Anakin is special. Ben is special. Everyone else is a supporting act. That's a betrayal of the Force's own concept, which was meant to unite the galaxy, not be hoarded by one bloodline. And look at how this damages new characters. Finn could have been the face of a stormtrooper rebellion, but he was sidelined to make room for Rey's connection to the Skywalker narrative. Poe was set up as a hotshot leader, but reduced to background because the real drama was Kylo Ren's family angst. Even Rey herself was rewritten from nobody into a legacy Palpatine just to tie her closer to Skywalker conflict. New blood always gets sacrificed on the altar of old blood. Compare this to Andor, a story completely free from Skywalker baggage. Cassian is compelling because he is ordinary. Mon Mothma is compelling because she is a politician, not a Force user. Luthen is compelling because he sacrifices morality for revolution. None of this requires Anakin's ghost or Luke's shadow. And that freedom is exactly why the show feels fresh. Star Wars desperately needs more stories like that. Ones where the galaxy isn't defined by a single family name. Ones where the stakes come from cultures, politics, and ordinary people. Because when everything ties back to Skywalkers, the galaxy stops being a galaxy. It becomes a stage for one family reunion over and over again. The Skywalker obsession doesn't just limit stories, it warps the way audiences think about Star Wars. For years, fans have been conditioned to believe that the saga equals Skywalker. That's why the sequel trilogy was marketed as the end of the Skywalker saga, rather than just new Star Wars stories. But the truth is that branding is a trap. Because once you tie your universe to one bloodline, you eventually run out of ideas. We already see this problem play out. The sequels bent over backwards to give Luke a role even when it undermined his arc. They bent Rey into legacy status when she was more interesting as a nobody. They bent Ben Solo into a Vader echo when he could have been his own figure. This constant circling creates diminishing returns. Each new attempt feels less powerful because we've seen it before. Father issues, redemption arcs, Skywalker guilt. It's all recycled. Meanwhile, stories that avoid this baggage thrive. The Clone Wars gave us clones with individuality and moral complexity. Rebels gave us Ezra Bridger as a new type of Jedi learner. The Bad Batch explores genetic outliers struggling to find meaning. These succeed because they don't feel shackled to Skywalker melodrama. They feel like parts of a living galaxy rather than footnotes in one family biography. It also makes the galaxy feel strangely small. Think about it. This is a universe with trillions of beings across thousands of systems. Yet every galactic turning point somehow loops back to Anakin's kids or grandkids. That's not mythic anymore, that's absurd. It's like claiming every political shift on Earth can be traced back to the Kennedys. Eventually it stops feeling epic and starts feeling claustrophobic. And this obsession creates a risk for the franchise's future. If Lucasfilm keeps circling the Skywalkers, audiences will eventually tune out because the well is dry. Nostalgia is powerful, but it isn't infinite. Fans crave novelty. They want to see new faces, new cultures, and new conflicts. Otherwise, Star Wars risks collapsing into irrelevance, as it recycles the same family drama again and again. There's also the danger of overexposure. The more the Skywalkers appear, the less special they feel. Luke showing up in The Mandalorian was thrilling the first time, but if he pops up everywhere, it loses impact. Anakin's redemption was moving, but when every new villain is just another variation of his downfall, it becomes predictable. Repetition kills myth. The irony is that George Lucas himself always talked about the galaxy being bigger than one story. He imagined Wookiee cultures, Hutt's underworld's Jedi orders across centuries. But the corporate machine narrowed Star Wars down because Skywalker stories were easy to market. It's the safe bet, but safe bets eventually bankrupt creativity. Star Wars is at its best when it takes risks. When it gives us characters like Cassian Andor, or arcs like the Night Sisters, or stories set in eras far from the Skywalker timeline. These prove the galaxy can be infinite. It just has to stop circling the same tree. The Skywalkers deserve respect for what they brought to the saga, but they don't deserve eternal monopoly. Until Lucasfilm breaks free, Star Wars will stay stuck in the past, and fans who once saw a galaxy of infinite potential will only see a loop. That keeps circling the same family.
Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that share button. My main channel is Critical Analysis Hub, where I post Star Wars content about the movies. My secondary channel is Critical Analysis Hub Plus, where I focus on the shows of Star Wars. And my third channel is Critical Analysis Hub XP, where I post comic books. Be sure to take a moment and check them out. Thanks, and may the Force be with you.